Good morning, City College. Let's hear it. Welcome to Spring Opening Day 2019. And I have the pleasure of introducing your Academic Senate President, Jan Jarrell.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Spring 2019. Really happy to make a few announcements on behalf of the Academic Senate. Louder? How do I do that? Hello? Okay. I just hold it closer. Okay. So first, I wanted to welcome two new Academic Senate exec officers. Alan Rivera is our adjunct officer. Alan, are you here? Okay. If you are an adjunct, you will definitely be hearing from Alan. He is super active and excited to get to work to implement our strategic plan around around adjunct issues. Also, we have Luis Perez is our woo! Luis, where are you? There he is, waiting in the wings. Yeah, he is our acting past president while Justin Akers is on sabbatical. So we're very excited to have Luis join us. Just to remind everybody, I know the sound seems a little weird. Is it not weird for you guys? Okay. The first General Academic Senate meeting is Monday, February 11th, 2:30, MS 140. Everyone is welcome to attend this and all meetings. We hope you join us and check out what we're doing, the conversations we are having. And if you also have any concerns or issues that you would like for us to tackle, we welcome you to come to our exec meetings and present to us, and then we can help problem solve with you. So our schedule is on our website, and just shoot us an email if you would like to join us at an exec meeting. Also, we will be planning an academic senates from the three colleges and continuing education retreat. It'll be a half day in March or April, and I will be letting you know. And we're really trying to grow our presence and leadership and faculty voice on campus and across the district. So we will hope to see many of you there. Also, we will be having elections this year for this spring for president-elect as well as chair of chairs. And for the chair of chairs position, that is anyone who is a chair or has been a chair. Issues that we're working on. We've been working from starting last semester and continuing this semester on a statement, a position paper on our guiding principles of equity, advocacy, and transparency. We are doing this to help people when they go to committee meetings or any place where they are representing faculty, that they have sort of some kind of guidance in terms of how to represent the faculty as a whole. We also have been working closely with our administrative partners and student services around issues of outreach and enrollment. And we will be continuing to work with the instructional cabinet on hiring and reassigned time prioritization processes, and that those will come through the Academic Senate at some time this spring, revisions or updates. And as always, we name faculty to all committees, and this is adjuncts or contracts. Please read our emails. They usually come out on Mondays and are due on Fridays. And there's a range of hiring as well as shared governance committees and district committees that we name faculty to. So please participate. Usually they come from Eddie Mechuero, our Academic Senate assistant. And we also are working very hard with across the state on leadership and advocacy for faculty. And we expect to do that again this spring as a coordinated effort. And some of this has to do with leadership at the state level, the chancellor's office, and some of the concerns about collegial consultation and shared governance that we've had in terms of the statewide body. So we'll be continuing to advocate at that level as well. And so there's our website. Check us out, join us, and welcome again. And at this point, I would be very happy to invite Dr. Ricky Shabazz, our president of City College, to come to the stage and formally kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Jan, for your leadership. Good morning, City College. You know, we have such a great working relationship with our faculty leadership and our faculty in general and our campus. You know, I'm so honored and pleased to serve in this capacity, and that you all have welcomed me to your team. As we get into some updates about City College, first, I want to acknowledge that it took a team to put on this event. And behind the scenes, we have both Sean and Eric and the entire team from Robbie. Let's give them a round of applause. They're webcasting. They're webcasting this event for those folks who are not able to come. Certainly in my office, I would not be able to get to the meetings and run the operations of the college if it were not for Cheryl and Aaron keeping me to task and making sure that I'm in the places that I'm supposed to be. Let's give them a round of applause. And hopefully he doesn't get mad at me, but someone who is behind the scenes making sure that this facility operates with all of the events that go on up in the booth, Rob has been doing this for nearly, if not over 30 years, and I'd like to congratulate him on his retirement. He will be leaving us in the near future. Congratulations. Thank you on behalf of our college and our students for all that you do. You know, as college president, I spend a lot of time with faculty, students, learning about the college, hearing the great stories of the things that take place at City College. And some of what I get to do, which is not the most exciting thing, but very serious, is that when a member of our family loses someone, very often I have to make that phone call or go meet with that person to offer our condolences. A couple years ago, you all know we had the state champion basketball team. And under the great leadership of Coach Mitch Charlins, we won the state championship. And we can clap for the basketball team and Mitch. One of the unfortunate incidents connected to the basketball team is that we lost one of our players to something that's very serious, both on our campus and in the community. And I'm so happy that we have Leslie and Dottie providing support, both health-wise, mental health-wise, but some students, unfortunately, don't make it to them. And we lost one of our players in Nate Edwards. And this is a very serious matter because the mother called me around December because there was an article that ran that frankly invoked some feelings of a mother who was still grieving the loss of her son. And so I did, as any good college president would do, I offered to meet with Miss Edwards to offer my sincere apologies and to listen to her story of a mother who lost her son. But what I learned as we met over dinner down the street, we went to a Brazilian restaurant, go figure. That's an inside joke for some people. So we went to Fogo de Chão, and what happened was this amazing conversation of a mother who herself had gone back to a community college, is in a master's program, finishing her degree. But more importantly, she shared with me the story of Nate's children who are still here and living a life without their father. And more importantly, the mother of those children, who's raising two children. One of the sons looks exactly like Nate. And so I offered to drive Miss Edwards home because I wanted to meet Nate's girlfriend and his two children so that I could convey to them that City College still supported her, even though she wasn't a student, and those two little boys. And when I met with her, I made an offer to her that if she came to City College, the great faculty and staff would welcome her open-handedly and provide support for her because, frankly, she hasn't addressed some very real mental health things that go along with losing someone. She's still grieving. There's a positive part of this story. And a positive part of this story is that we're in the process of rebuilding the San Diego Community College Foundation. And I went to the board and I said, is there something we can do to show this mother and her two little boys that San Diego City College still supports them? We have not forgotten about them. Could we give them a $500 gift certificate to Walmart so that they can go buy some food, go buy some clothes? And they agreed. And on top of agreeing to do that, I said, could we offer her an additional $500 if she came and registered and enrolled in City College? And we connected her to a counselor, Dr. Charlins. There's two Charlins here, who agreed to meet with the student, and she's going to do so this week. And I'm optimistic connecting her to one of our great faculty members will encourage her to come and register for school, because we all know that the future of those little boys is dependent upon their mother accessing education and getting into some kind of either major or career so she can afford to pay this crazy rent that it costs to live in San Diego. And so I want to thank Dr. Charlins for taking on that challenge. She's going to be meeting with the student, and we will be delivering a $500 gift card from Walmart so that she can feed her children and take care of them and know that City College supports her. So let's give Dr. Charlins a round of applause. And that feeds right into our commitment to social justice and student success and equity. We did not forget about Nate, his girlfriend, and his children, and whatever we can do to encourage her, much like we do our students, to chase their dreams, accomplish their dreams, use education to access social and upward mobility. Will continue to do so. I want to publicly thank everyone who participated in the MLK parade. Can I get a show of hands for those of you who participated in the MLK parade? Thank you. Professor Dwayne took on a very ambitious float on what turned out to be the windiest day in the history of San Diego. And for those of you who were there, and even more importantly, for those of you who were not there, we had a giant puppet of Martin Luther King. And it was a showstopper. Everyone wanted to take a picture of this puppet. We were just hoping that the puppet didn't fly away. And so as we do at City College, Dottie and Leslie and Marciano and everyone who was there rallied around the work that Dwayne did, and we modified the puppet. And the end result is that picture of our great team and that great puppet float wound up on the cover of the UT. And I can tell you, for those of you who don't know what goes into making these floats, or in this case, this puppet, Dwayne and volunteers spend hundreds of hours putting this together, giving of their time so that we can showcase our commitment to social justice and the work. And let me also say that Martin Luther King Jr. is loved by San Diego, because there must have been at least 8 events that I went to over the course of the weekend. And I'm going to come back to an event because I heard a dynamic speaker at one of the events that I think is relevant to our work in Guided Pathways. But here are our institutional priorities for this year, not to be confused with the institutional priorities, but these are the things we're working on. Already talked about the first bullet. Certainly enrollment management. I'm going to dive into this in a slide later on. This continues to be our work, is that without students, there's no one to educate. There's no one to learn. This is always going to be about teaching and learning. but you have to have someone to teach and you have to have someone to learn. And so it's all of our work is enrollment management. Now, we have these yard signs, which I have to admit, I was on the fence on whether we should do this. There's a story behind these signs. At my former college, we purchased these yard signs that you'll see around, and I talked to the students out front, and they said no one had gotten any of them. So I'm a little afraid if this is going to work or not. But at my former institution, we did this, and people agreed to take them home and just put them in their lawns. And our sister college laughed at us. Oh, no one's going to do that. Then I started receiving emails from our sister college saying these signs are showing up in their area. And a funny thing happened the very next semester. Guess who had these yard signs? Our sister college. So, be encouraged to do so if you are so inclined. We would love for you to take one, put them up, in your apartment building, in your lawn. Let people know that there's still time to register. I'm going to get into enrollment management a little bit more. I'm going to talk a little bit about accreditation, talent acquisition. We're going to introduce 2 of our new members of our family. Certainly, we're happy to have Paula and her work with professional development. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And this concept of environmental stewardship, as someone who's still fairly new to City College, I'm going to keep saying that. If you use the concept of the outliers, it takes about 10,000 hours to be an expert at anything. I am not an expert at City College. The way I become an expert is by having you all invite me to your programs to learn more. And many of you all have done that. And I'm going to talk about a tour I took of C's, or what I very affectionately refer to as the urban farm. And I see Erin right there, my Aussie colleague. Hopefully she doesn't mind me saying that. I went to Australia for the first time, had a blast. And then behind the scenes, at some point, I'm going to actually introduce Caesar. You all met him, but he's doing the slides for me. Thank you, Caesar. And so Student Services continues to launch on the efforts toward the ultimate student experience. Denise is going to talk about that in her slides. We're happy to move into the newly remodeled, anyways, A building. For those in the A building, are you enjoying the A building? I don't know whether I should enjoy it, though, because Manu came and shared with me that my office is where the biology labs used to be. And I don't know if that's where the cadavers were kept or anything. I believe she said that. But no, we have some beautiful spaces. We are not done yet. We are hearing that people say that it looks very sterile. Denise and her team are working on livening it up. But let me say that the spaces that our staff and our students now occupy are spaces that we should be proud of. We're going to dive into the space allocation process for those secondary effects. We are planning a grand opening sometime in April or May to really reflect on our ability to get the secondary effects up, so that the paintings, the signs, that sort of thing. So there's still some work to be done. We continue to expand on our support for transfer and strong workforce. You're going to see a lot of information moving forward based on the marketing and the designs of Kim, who does an amazing job that says very simply, City College helped me transfer, or City College helped me get a job. And you all may be familiar with the Aaron Harvey story. He appears on a banner off of Park Street. As someone who's very active on social media, that picture of Aaron has been retweeted, Facebooked out hundreds of times, which really confirms something I already know, and that our most important resource and people to help us with marketing our great college are our students. And so you're going to see us use our students. And so if you're aware of an amazing student story, please share it with me, share it with your dean, share it with your vice president, because we'd like to feature that student and or your work in our marketing efforts. We have a number of initiatives with adult learners, veterans, foster youth, dreamers. Certainly, we are a safe space for all students, and this initiative that they don't want us to call an initiative called Guided Pathways. And so we're going to talk a lot about Guided Pathways. We're excited. Matter of fact, I was talking to Paul Alexander outside about the Social Justice Conference, which is coming in March. And we do have a location for commencement, which has been a feat even in itself. Let's give Marciano and his team a round of applause. Commencement is going to be located and take place at the San Diego Convention Center because unfortunately Balboa Park is going to be under construction at some point. I'm hearing that the construction is actually not going to start until September. And so I'm going to be meeting with the local elected officials to make sure we can go back to Balboa Park, because frankly, this commencement is going to cost us in the neighborhood of $50,000 more, because we had a dream of a deal at Balboa Park. We were paying about $2,000 to rent Balboa Park. Let me just say that the convention center is not $2,000. And finding a space to house 5,000 people at a reasonable price is a task. And so Guided Pathways is a discussion that I am beginning to understand is controversial, or can be. For me, I'm conflicted about Guided Pathways because as a researcher, I have not really seen any research that confirms that this is the answer to all of our prayers. But I am convinced that this is an opportunity to continue to have discussions about the gaps that impact our students' ability to complete. And so over the weekend, I had a chance to purchase a book that I've been reading that really reminded me of Guided Pathways and this dialogue that will ensue on campus about Guided Pathways as it relates to our students' experience coming to us. And so the book is called The Third Option by Miles, and I don't want to butcher his last name, but Miles is a former athlete for the Chargers. I don't know if there are any Charger fans in the audience. Thank you, Siri. Of course, it never works when you want it to. But Miles writes a book that tackles the subject of in-group and out-group bias. And I think this is relevant to Guided Pathways because as a group, we're all in the same group. We're all educators. Many of us have an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate. Many of us speak the same language, understand the same concepts. And then there are students who wake up one day and say, I want to change my life. And I just want to register for college. Then we tell them they've got to fill out this application that takes even those of us with a doctorate an hour to complete. Then we tell them you got to go to this office, then you go to that office, and they tell you got to go to the next office, and you go to the next office, and they tell you got to go to the next office, because we know how this works. In group versus out group. And the point of the book, and I think at some point, the point of Guided Pathways is that we have gaps. And we lose students through those gaps. Or you got to have a picture ID to get any help. How many of our students don't have a picture ID? How many of our students are living in their back seat of a car? Something called couch surfing. And so if the difference between them coming to school and not coming to school is a picture ID, then we've got to figure out a way to help them get a picture ID. But that's the language that we speak as in-group, out-group. This resonated me, the speech that Miles did over the weekend, because he used this as an example to explain in-group, out-of-group. And this really resonated with me. How many of you are left-handed? That's a group. Is this a left-hand world or a right-hand world? When we go into a classroom, are there more right-hand desks or left-hand desks? Well, what if 90% of our students are left-handed? June said something I can't repeat. When we go to shake someone's hand, do we shake it on the right hand or the left hand? Well, my daughter is left-handed. One day she came home and she was writing with her right hand. And I was like, well, what are you doing? Well, everybody else writes with their right hand, so I must have to write with my right hand. And so I had to start telling very positive reinforcement stories about left-handed people being smarter than right-handed people. That's what they say, right? They use a different side of their brain. The right side, somebody said. Right? But when I look at guided pathways, these are the things I think of. Right? Are we forcing left-handed students to do right-handed things? And the other fascinating thing that came out of this dialogue about in-group, out-group bias is the fact that those of us that are in group share stories about the things for those who are out of group. But how, if we're right-handed, do we really know what a left-handed person has to go through? How, if we have a doctorate, master's, we went through this education, do we really know what a student who's first generation, no high school diploma, nowhere to live, no ID, and the host of other things that our students come to us, if that's not our lived reality? And so while I'm conflicted about the notion of guided pathways and the way that it was bestowed upon us, I think that there's an opportunity to stay true to our mission of academic excellence, student success, social justice, and equity, and ensure that we're addressing the gaps so that when a student walks into the office, the first thing they see is not a sign that says, if you don't have an ID, you can't get help. What does the student who doesn't have an ID do? Leave. I don't have an ID, I can't get any help. And so what things could we be doing to be more welcoming? The other thing that came out of a manager's retreat, and I'll go to the next slide after this, is this notion of hope. Anyone done the strengths assessment? If you haven't done the strengths assessment, I would urge you to do it. And at my former college, we tackled mental health using strengths. Now, I wasn't a big assessment person, but here's what I know is that Gallup has done extensive research on hope. And they've determined based on this research is that the single predictor of future success is hope. And the one thing I know about City College and the work that you all do is we instill hope in our students. So it won't be guided pathways that help students complete. It'll be our ability to continue to instill hope in students and remove the barriers and the gaps when they arrive on campus so that they can accomplish their educational goals. Enrollment. We are doing an okay job. About a B+. We're about 86% of our target. There are still classes that have not been included in this number: cosmetology, late start classes, CCAP classes. And so I'm optimistic that we are going to get as close to 100% as possible. We're adding on demand. We are looking at the late start classes, and we continue to work with the deans and the chairs to reallocate those canceled classes. Because just because anybody like canceling classes? Right? None of us do. However, that is a reality of low enrollment. And so as we cancel a class, we have to reallocate that FTES and that FTEF to either a late start or the summer. And so we're in those discussions right now. We know a lot of our students will show up the first week of class, and we will welcome them. And there's still a huge push for the late start classes, but enrollment is softening. But there's huge efforts to promote the college. And let me be clear of what we're promoting. We're promoting programs, not classes, students, and employees. We're telling the story of City College in all the ways that you see behind me, because I'm convinced that we have the best designer on the planet. And if we put our designer, Kim, with our students and our employees, then we know that this information will get out. As I was traveling around Southeast San Diego, I had a number of people come to me and say for the first time they were seeing City College in places that they had never seen City College. Trolley stops, bus stops. We are aggressively promoting our programs, our students, and our employees. And we continue to have an opportunity to grow our off-site classes, night and weekend classes, online, and concurrent enrollment. And let me speak a little bit about our online, because I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that we prefer online or the president prefers online versus in person. I have never taken an online class, and I don't know that I would be successful in an online class. But when we look at the data, it's very clear that the online classes feel quicker than in person. We also know that there are some subjects, primarily lab classes, that can't be taught online, although some colleges are. In either case, I'm also not convinced that students, just because they want to take online classes, that means they're going to be successful in those online classes. So we're absolutely looking at the success rate of these online classes, and it's really a challenge to determine, just because someone wants something, that we should be offering it in that mode of instruction. We've grown concurrent enrollment under the leadership of Dr. Manu Spradley, who we also owe a great deal of appreciation. Thank you for your service. I am very excited about Dr. Spradley's future, because she has been an amazing vice president of instruction. So thank you for taking the college further in these areas. We're promoting City College in the way of we help students transfer, we help them get their degrees. We're working on producing more videos. By the end of the semester, we will have 2 additional feature videos for the college, Dream Big 2.0, and then a second feature video of our career education. Now you may say, well, why is the president talking more about career education? One, I'm not. We're going to be promoting transfer as much as we promote career education, but the fact of the matter is right now in San Diego, there is a huge hiring boom in the trades. And folks, these are jobs making a lot of money. And not that it's not about money more than it is about our students being able to take care of their families. And let me give you an example. I went to the graduation for our San Diego gas and electric lineman program. It's an apprenticeship program. 3 students after about 3 years will be completing the program. Their first year as a full-time San Diego lineman, they're going to make $225,000. All 3 of these students were in their early 30s. They're going to be able to change the lives of their family. And so when I go into some of the meetings that I attend with industry, they want to know, what is City College's commitment to filling this hiring or assisting with this hiring boom? The other thing is that many of the folks who go into the trades come back to City College still to get their associate's degree and to transfer. And so we're promoting both, but the state has infused quite a bit of money in strong workforce. And so we're doing a lot of work under the leadership of Rose, Jeannie, and a lot of the other deans with strong workforce. Certainly we're going to have a new website. Let's show the folks the screenshot, Caesar, of the new website. There we go. I don't know if Victor's here. Let's give Victor a round of applause. Victor has great work. He's our new web developer. This is what our new website will look like. It's scheduled to launch on the 28th. Now, let me be clear on what Victor's role is and is not. He is a one-person operation. He's primarily there to do the coding and the templates and to train all of you how to manage your own website. And so he'll be offering some training through Flex Activities on how to aid you in being able to upload your own videos, your PDFs and pictures and that sort of thing. We have 200 programs, folks. If all 200 sent Victor an email saying we needed a picture up, it'd take him a year to get all of that stuff up. And so he's going to train you all on how to do it. This is set up to be used by the end user. And so I'm happy to report that we're going to launch the new website on the 28th. It is going to be better than the current website, but it is going to be a work in progress because I'm happy to report that we are going after about $150,000 worth of strong workforce funds that will be exclusively and have to be exclusively used to make our website more student friendly. This website is for students to be able to find the information about our programs. Next is an update on the ERP. How many people like PeopleSoft? Yeah. In every meeting, I've got some hecklers out there. In every meeting I go to, PeopleSoft comes up. And so I hear you all. I've been in conversations with Paula and Roxanne, and we're going to be having meetings to look at the open labs and providing you all with support for PeopleSoft. I know that the faculty would like one person who just helps the faculty, and certainly I will entertain that. The reality is that the funding we receive from the state doesn't allow us to hire classified staff members unless someone leaves. And so what we're going to be working on is developing a better way of marketing the open labs, because Roxanne and her team already provide support, and maybe we can do a better job of communicating that so that you know that there is help to help you submit the paperwork that I understand sometimes takes an hour and then it goes into the black hole and disappears. So I hear you all. We will continue to work on that. But in the meantime, on the 22nd of April, the new web portal for students will launch. There's already ongoing training. This train has left. We're on it, and we're going to make the best out of it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Budget. We are trending about $1.5 million over budget. This is a concern of mine. I probably get 5 or 6 gray hairs every night thinking about this. It's not a reason to be alarmed. We need to be aware. And here's why I say we don't want to be alarmed. Our total budget, GFU, general funds, and categorical is upwards of $80 million. So 1.5 out of 80 is kind of a hiccup. I don't want to downplay it because it's real, but I also don't want to overstate it because I don't want anybody to leave and say we're in financial problems, trouble, because we're not. We have to be more thrifty with our spending, which probably means that we're going to buy 1 t-shirt instead of 4. Probably means there might not be as many gifts at events as there used to be. It means that folks are going to have to justify hiring people when people either resign or leave. Most of our budget overage is in 2 areas. And this is not picking, this is just factual. The state increased our PERS and STIRS contribution, which is our retirement. It nearly doubled. That came straight out of our general fund. Hopefully you all read the newsletter from the chancellor. That worked out to be about $14 million for the district. You know what we could have done with $14 million? Not had to have had this conversation. Next, the college overall has about $2 million in release time. I want to go on record in saying I support faculty release time, as long as it's not hitting the GFU. What I mean by GFU is our general fund. Right now, there's about 600,000 of it that is hitting that is contributing to that 1.5 million. So between the STRS and PERS and the GFU release time, that pretty much equates to the $1.5 million deficit. Here's what happens with GFU release time. The district funds us at an adjunct rate that is lower than the contract rate. So when we hire an adjunct to backfill for you, and you have release time that's on the GFU, not the other areas, there's a deficit. So there's a delta difference between those two that is contributing to the 1.5. And so I've got to figure out a way, and we've got to figure out a way to seek external funding. Because as a new president, no one's going to volunteer to give up that $600,000 release time, which means I've got to go figure out a way to raise $600,000 so I don't have to come to you and say, I need you to give up that $600,000 worth of release time. And so we figured out a way with the new foundation board that we have enough resources in the foundation to hire an executive director. We're going to spend or invest about $100,000 to hire an executive director that we hope will be here late March, early April. That person is going to have a 1-year contract and be required to raise $500,000. If they raise $500,000, guess what they get to do? They get to sign up for another year. I am convinced with the history of this college and the amount of money that comes in unsolicited, that $500,000 is actually too low. There are community colleges bringing in between $20 and $30 million just through their foundation. Let me say this. If we were bringing in $20 or $30 million, we wouldn't be having a conversation about $600,000 worth of release time that's hitting the GFU. And so that has been my goal this year. Let me give you an example. Under the leadership of our great Vice President of Students, Denise Wisenhunt, she has courted, like you court donors. Jim Sinegal and Denise have this Fresno thing going on that I love because she was able to build a relationship with Jim Sinegal that generated $150,000. One person, $150,000. And Denise would tell you Denise would tell you that Jim has about a $10 million center at San Diego State. And he's waiting to write City College a $10 million check as soon as we can package something that he can put his name on that's worthy of 10 or so million. I'm just using that number. I don't want you to go out and say the president said Jim Sinegal is going to give $10 million. Yeah. What I am saying is that if we put it together the correct package, I am confident that Mr. Sinegal would write a check for much more money than $150,000. You can see behind me what the $150,000 is going to be spent on. This shows, again, the leadership of Denise, that she wasn't just thinking of student services. This money is going to the entire campus, of which I'm happy to say that the food pantry is going to get $10,000. The OER research is going to get $10,000. And this is the team, folks, that you have among you. I didn't go to Denise and say, this is how I want the money spent. Denise knew enough about what was going on our college and what the needs were that she put these resources to this area. And so the check is here. The beauty of Jim Sinegal, when he says he's going to do something, the check just comes. So we get an email from Roxanne. It says the $150,000 is here. And so we'll be working with those groups who are identified here to seek these resources. And as we hire an executive director, they'll be tasked with writing grants and going after external donors. The student-centered funding formula. I don't even like calling it that because there's nothing student-centered about the way this was implemented. So let's just call it the new formula. It's such that we are going to receive funding from the state, 70% based on our enrollment. That's why you hear me talking a lot about enrollment, 20% on equity, 10% on success. Our new governor has come in and given or put together, and this is the way I heard Bonnie describe it yesterday, so I'm going to steal her thunder. It's a good budget. It's not a great budget. It would be great if they put another $50 million to hire some more faculty. It would be great if they gave us more money to hire classified staff. It would be great if they gave us more money to tackle our PERS and STRS contributions, but it's a good budget in that, one, next year, this new formula was slated to change such that it was going to be 65-35. And he said, wait. Let's study this thing a little further before we make any changes. So let's hold the formula at the rate it currently is going into the new year. We respect him for that. He also put several billion into the STRS-PERS contributions, which is going to allow us to not have to put another $14 million of our general fund into PERS or STRS. These things that the governor is recommending is actually going to help us in that $1.5 million deficit that we're facing. And so I'm very excited that the governor is showing some support for the community colleges. But again, what we don't know is what the funding is for full-time faculty. We need the state to give us money for full-time faculty in order for us to hire full-time faculty. This year, we're going to hire 3 additional faculty members because of the $50 million that was put in the current year's budget. We also don't know about increases to base allocation. That's how we hire classified staff and do other things outside of hiring faculty, is for the state to put money in the base allocation. And we don't know what the state is going to fund us next year for instructional equipment. That's how we replace microscopes and chairs and other things on the campus, is when the state puts more money into these areas. We don't just get to arbitrarily say that we're going to put money in those areas, because 90% approximately of our budget goes to salaries and benefits. And so we require the state to give us money in order to purchase things or allocate resources in this area. Accreditation. I can't thank Dr. Murray and everyone who worked on accreditation, Aaron Detty, enough. We are well positioned to be fully accredited. Technically, we are fully accredited, but to have the Accreditation Commission say that we've addressed their recommendations, which we have as a campus. I expect to hear something in spring when the commission meets, and then we'll get ready, because we will be year 2 of a 7-year process. And so Denise asked me one day, what do I want my legacy to be at City College? And for me, it's very clear that all the great things that we are doing is in writing. So when these folks come and ask us, are we doing what we say we're doing? We have everything ready, and we just overwhelm them with our plans, our evaluations, our reports, and it becomes a part of what we do. And that's why I am requesting that all of the deans put together staffing plans, that they work with their areas, and we have a staffing plan. Well, you may say, well, that's already in task stream. Yes, individually, but it's not as a division or a program or an area. And so I am really stressing to the deans and the vice presidents that everything we do has to be in writing. So when these folks show up in another 5 years, or is it 6? It's either 6 or 5 years from now, because it's a 7-year period, that there's no stress on anyone. We just go into task screen, we go into our computers, and we pull out all of the things that we're doing. We've been working with the IEPI team to look at our governance structure. Folks, we have too many committees. Everybody should be clapping. We got too many committees. Some of you all spend all of your time in meetings. Anybody like meetings? Oh. Go figure. And so we're looking at our governance structure to see if there's overlap with committee work and whether or not there are committees that no longer serve the purpose of our mission, vision. And so we are working with an external team that is going to allow us to access some resources to really look at our governance structure. We had our first visit, actually first of 2 visits, but we had 2 visits in the fall, which concluded with a December visit. And there's a team working on putting together a concept paper that will allow us to submit to the IEPI office at the College of the Canyons to access some resources to further this work. And so this is happening under the leadership of Dr. Susan Murray and others that are working on this. Caesar. So talent acquisition, we continue to hire. We're going to be hiring 11 faculty this spring. Some of these are the 3 positions that I talked about that we're getting from the state. The rest of them are retirement. There's some categorical counselor positions in there. I went to the chairs meeting this week, and I used the number, I believe it was 7 or 8. The additional positions are a foster youth counselor, an EOP&S counselor, DSPS counselor. So there's some categorical counselors in there that were outside of our hiring prioritization, because we all know categorical money has to be spent in a specific area. Certainly, we'd like to welcome Tilly Chavez to the college, our new vice president. I'll be introducing her momentarily. And I'd invite Caesar to come out of the shadows, our new public information officer. I believe I'm not sure if Genevieve was here in the fall, but we also have Genevieve, who is our new associate dean of outreach and community relations. And I saw her somewhere here. You want to stand? Everybody needs to see you. Come here. I want to go on record as saying it is not Genevieve's job exclusively to do outreach and enrollment. It is all of our job to do outreach and enrollment and support the work that she's going to put together under her leadership. We are going to be hiring some classified staff members. These are mostly replacement positions. The state gave us $32,000 to offer professional development specifically for our classified employees. I'm excited about this. Paula is working with Awana, and so we're going to be having our classified appreciation week, June 3rd through June 7th. One of the other things that the speaker Miles talked about is that when a student comes on campus, they did a research study. When students come on campus, they followed a group of students who came, and they did a measurement of those who someone said hello to and those that no one said hello to. And they asked the student, how did that make you feel? And it was really a no-brainer. The students who someone said hello to were all excited about the college, and the ones that no one ever took the time to say hello to left and went somewhere else where someone said hello. And so we have an opportunity with this classified funding from the state to really tackle customer service. Now, I have to tell on myself. A lot of times when I'm walking across campus, I've got a million things on my mind, and I'm trying not to get lost between A and B. And so I have to force myself to speak to every single student, not because I don't want to speak, because my mind's going 1,000 miles an hour. But I can tell you, every time I say hi, something strange happens. Someone says hi back. And then I say, are you lost? Can I help you find something? And a person says, yes, I've been here for 30 minutes trying to find out where the A building is. You all moved admissions on me. Right? And so those small things will help with enrollment and keeping the students who are already here. Paula is working on a number of other things. Certainly we have our new Employees Institute, a Career Pathways Institute. We've listened and heard from the chairs. Paula will be putting something together this spring to launch in the fall, which is a new Chairs Institute, which means the chairs of the programs as well as chairs of committees. And then we have a second group that's going to lead from the middle. Environmental stewardship. So then the second thing I did kind of over break, before I left for break, was I got with Erin, who is in our Seeds program. Affectionately, I call it the Urban Farm. Hopefully she doesn't mind me doing that. And I took a tour of our 3 farms, which was very insightful for me because one of them I thought I really knew about and I was educated. I actually brought my daughter along because she's a little mad scientist herself. And we had a ball learning about the great work that Erin and our biology faculty are doing in sustainable agriculture and a number of other areas. And it was very clear to me as a faculty member who's teaching as many as 5 sections and also running an approximately acre farm, that's a tad bit too much for one person to be doing with a part-time IoT. And so as a college, I had the same kind of conversation as I did with those working with East Village High School, that if we're going to do this, then we've got to do it. And so one of the first areas that the executive director is going to be looking to raise funds is to make sure that that part-time IoT is a full-time IoT. And over the spring, we'll be having some conversations with Seeds and Rose's team to see how do we integrate business, because there's a lot of opportunity with our K through 12 partners and external partners that, folks, we have a fully functioning farm in the middle of an urban area that can bring very positive attention to our college, our faculty. And I don't know if I went to UC Davis, so I'm partial, I'm biased. Let me just go ahead and admit it. I went to UC Davis, one of the largest ag schools in the country. I drove tomato trucks when I was in college. That's a story for another day. And so when I look at this farm, I know what it takes, because I remember spending 12, 13 hours driving into tomato fields and seeing people pick tomatoes. And so to know that one person is operating this, if we're going to have a world-class urban farm, then we need to make sure that it has support. Now, you may say, I have a need too. Invite me to learn. There's a lot of things I don't know about what we do as a college, and I would ask you to work with your dean or your vice president. I would love to come. Now, let me be clear. It doesn't mean that Aaron and C's is just going to get something. They provided me examples of grants that they've already written that can be tweaked so we can go after other funding, external funding, to get them the support that they need. And I would love to have that kind of conversation with any program on this department. We don't have the ability with 1.5 million deficit to just write a check to say we're going to hire an IoT. We do have the ability to go after some funds that are out there that can help you get the resources that you need. We're going through a new space allocation. As we move into the A building, it's leaving some spaces open. It's also leaving some furniture. I would humbly ask you not to commandeer any of that furniture. And we're laughing, but some people are doing that. We're going to go through a process to reallocate that furniture and those spaces. Roxanne will go into it more. It'll pretty much conclude at the end of February, where we will start notifying folks of those spaces. There is a need for a space for East Village High School, institutional research, a contemplation room, a bigger veteran center. These are the priorities. Doesn't mean if you don't see your area that it's not a priority, but these are folks that need larger spaces. I'm happy to report that we will break ground. I need some water now. We'll break ground for the Child Development Center. Certainly we're working with Berta and her team. The parking in the T building lot will go offline in a couple of weeks. Roxanne will go into that in greater detail, but we are excited. Roxanne will provide more detail on the bookstore and the cafeteria. And at this point, I've spoken to you all long enough, and I am excited to introduce our new Vice President of Instruction, Ms. Tilly Chavez.
Thank you, Ricky. Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you for the warm welcome, Ricky, and thank you, all of you. I'm just overwhelmed of how many wonderful people there are here in San Diego, and especially at City College. It just goes to show what my first impression of this college was on October 17th is true to form. So thank you. To give a round of applause to yourself, actually. So today is going to be a little different because I don't really have any updates since this is my third day here. The updates are I'm able to find my office and maybe find you. So, and I'm here. I'm still here. I'm good and I'm happy, pleased as ever. So I thought today I might just give you a little bit of a story for those of you maybe have heard a little bit of it. I apologize in advance, and some of you may be just insightful of maybe some ideas in the future. So hopefully it won't be too long. And I just want to let you know, I arrived here last Friday from Arizona. So I drove in from Phoenix. And on Saturday, I started my day off in the MLK presentations on a breakfast. And I've been hitting the ground running ever since. I even mentioned earlier to Denise, I'm not sure why I have an apartment in Claremont because I've only showered and slept there. So really probably should have gotten a couch in my office, would have been cheaper. So anyways, I'm glad that I'm here. And like I said, I came by way of Arizona. You can call me Matilda, Tilly, any of those that work for you. Sometimes Matilda, I tend to think that I'm in trouble. So I might look at you a little differently. It's okay. Either one is fine. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, that I am a first generation Latina. And yeah, thank you. And my parents, Ernie and Mary, they had 3 children, and my dad only made it to 5th grade, and my mom made it to the 8th grade. They were so determined to have their children have an education. They made such sacrifices, excuse me. And that big sacrifice they made was, I was born in South Phoenix, which is a very similar area here to City College. And my dad knew this was a long time ago. So in the day that you couldn't just go to any school district and attend school, you had to actually live in the district to attend, right? There wasn't open enrollment. So he knew in the area where we were living that there was maybe some gaps available for getting to college. As Ricky was mentioning about those gaps before, my parents made the sacrifice and did the best they could to move us to North Phoenix, to an area called Paradise Valley School District. So they moved us there, and people thought we were rich. Well, it was not the story. I mean, we were able to get a house, but we had those food insecurities all the time. So it was, where's the next meal coming from? The sacrifice was live there, go to school, but then we didn't know where everything else was coming from at that point. But this was the sacrifice they made for us. My dad thought this is what he needed to do. And while it sounded great on paper, he didn't realize also some of the other effects that occurred. And it hasn't really occurred to me until more in the recent years of what actually is occurring this way. So family members, we were uprooted from our community. All of our family was now in South Phoenix. It doesn't sound that far away. It was about a 45-minute drive, and that can be harsh on families. So we would visit the families on Friday afternoon. They would come over in carloads, and everybody would spend the night until Sunday about 10 o'clock at night. So it was a really weird life. I had like all this culture on the weekend, and then it was Monday, you walk out the door like, okay, let's put that behind you. And that's kind of the generation that I grew up in. And that was my dad thinking, okay, you need to get ahead. This is the way to do that. Well, then it also caused some problems with even our family. The cousins would look at you and say, oh, las fresas, right? The snotty ones that live over there, right? We were too good. But then when you're in an affluent neighborhood and you're the only Mexican family, what are you doing here? So you felt like you had nowhere that you belonged and tried to learn to live in several worlds. So that's how I kind of grew up for the basics. And eventually I went to ASU, Arizona State University, which is where I was told I was going to go to school. Yeah, yes, my Arizona friend. And so I was told I was going to go there. So I went to Arizona State, and my dad said, so you need to get a degree. And I said, I thought it was just the idea to get to college. He said, no. And I was first generation. So I was like, how do I sign up? He said, I don't know. Go down there and find out. So I have that background of our students, I understand. And luckily for me, I developed this personality that I'm not afraid to ask questions, as you can tell. So I'm just jump in there and ask. So I was lucky enough to find a career in nursing. I loved it. So I graduated as a nursing degree. There's my nurses. And I absolutely enjoyed that. I graduated and I became a nurse for 9 months. And I found myself getting my master's degree 9 months later, getting up and moving to Cleveland, Ohio to go to Case Western Reserve. I was told it was a good school. I didn't know any better. I just said, go, go. So I went to Cleveland and I said, I'm here to do my nursing. And they said, you see the city out there? I said, yes. They said, go find your clinicals. This is a community health program. You go find it. Okay. And community health is what I was after. I wanted the community. All my life, I felt I needed to pay it forward. I wanted maybe to do it through the community means. And I had the opportunity to go to Nigeria, Africa for 3 months. And during that time period, I was able to do nursing in the bush. It was a fantastic experience. And I thought, this is what I've been looking for all my life. You know, every day for me was, this is what I've been looking for all my life. Because I hadn't seen that day. Everything, it was a great day. So I was in Africa, enjoyed it, came back, finished my master's degree. And I thought, now I'm ready to start my career. Went out to look for a job. And they said, you don't have any experience as a nurse other than 9 months. I said, yeah, that's a lot. They said no. So I became a traveling nurse for about 8 years, went around the country, and I worked in ICU and emergency rooms, anywhere I could find a position. And what I learned is I've met all of your personality-like people somewhere across the nation. So sometimes I may go, oh, I remember, I know how maybe we can work together. So I've learned those things. And after that, I was just working as a nurse. All of a sudden, next thing you know, time went by, and I've been a nurse for 17 years. Wow. I know. I was like, and I still felt like I didn't know anything. Nurses, is that a good, that's how it is, isn't it? You still never, ever really know it. You need each other. So, but I suddenly became really critical of people. And I saw some nurses that I was working with, and I felt that their competency level was really down and low. And I was afraid for all of you, the public. And I felt this isn't fair. This is not good. So instead of being so critical and come after that individual, I thought, what are you going to do about it? So I found myself at a community college in 2001 and decided I need to make nurses before they're born, right? So for 14 years, I became a faculty member, and I worked as a nursing faculty and eventually became a department chair. And I loved it. It was fantastic. I even worked in a bilingual nursing fellowship program where we tried to help the community so they could understand when the patients or the doctors couldn't speak Spanish. So we helped promote these other things, phenomenal things we were doing. You would think I would be happy. I should have been happy, but I felt that there was something still missing. I said, there's something more out there that I need to be doing. So I found myself as an administrator at South Mountain Community College. I applied for a dean of academic innovation, and I got the job. I was so surprised. It was 4.5 years ago. And I just loved it, fell in love with what I was doing. And then in that interim, I also had the time, an opportunity to become a vice president for 2 years as an interim. And I loved that even more. So recently, I had to step back down because it was an interim position. And so I was seeking to move forward. And that's how I came here. But before that, I want to give you another little story about that dean. So when I became the dean at South Mountain, all of a sudden, I had always been a member of the National Association of Hispanic Nurses. And in Phoenix, the largest chapter in the nation, I have to say that for them, they'll get upset with me if I don't, they have over 250 members. And they have monthly meetings. They asked me if I would host a monthly meeting at South Mountain. I just said, sure. So they came, it was in March, and they asked me if I would do the greeting, absolutely. And then I kind of had planned other things, wasn't planning to stay for the meeting. I was kind of in a hurry doing other things. And as I was doing my greeting, they asked me if I could stay because they were going to give me a gift. This gift was this beautiful vase that was about this tall, crystal vase, empty vase. I thought, beautiful, what am I going to do with an empty vase? Well, all of a sudden I realized, I looked around the room, there's only allowed 90 people to participate in the meeting. About 60 of the participants were my former students. They each brought me, I hope I don't cry, they each brought me a rose and filled the vase. And I said, why are we doing this? What's going on? And they said, you are a nurse, you are our inspiration, that we can be anything we want to be. And I got to tell you, I was bawling, I was crying. I'm going to hold it together today. But I was crying and crying, and it hit me at that very moment. I was so busy seeking what I was going to do that I was already doing it. I had no idea. So I bring that story just to try to tell you a little bit who I am and to tell you that I also had been seeking a family like City College. And I really, really feel the connection here and the energy. I have no intention of leaving anywhere. I've literally left Arizona. Who wouldn't leave Arizona for San Diego? Come on. But I really am pleased. I'm so honored to be here. I hope that gives you a little glimpse of who I am. I have more we can share, and I love to talk. So, but at this point, I'm just going to share that much with you today. Thank you. Thank you. And now, it's my pleasure of one of the individuals that I met on my very first day here, and I said, "Oh, I got to work with this woman. This is fantastic." Miss Denise Wisenhunt, our Vice President of Student Services.
Welcome to the family. Welcome to your people. And welcome, City College. Love that picture, Aaron. I love that picture. That's a cute picture. Aaron and I are twins for the past 10 years. They're like, Miss Aaron, Miss Aaron. No, it's just Denise. So welcome everyone back. And I'm gonna give you some updates in terms of what's happening with student services. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, first stay with the clicker. Okay, student service division. So finally, we have moved. Yes. So student services is located in the A building. When you wonder which building, think about it like this. If you want students to get A's, they need to go to student services because there is where they'll find all the supports. We have the mighty counseling teams, general counseling, EOPS, DSPS. We have financial aid, critical shout out to financial aid for the work that they've done. Who talked about ERP in the back? Think about ERP from a financial aid lens. It has been a journey, so shout out to them as well. So we've moved into our new space and we're looking to have an open house in late April, early May. So you're going to hear more about that. And then also just in regards to the moves, you've seen the beautiful Dreamers Resource Center. I'd also invite you to go to Sabir Science, which is, I think that's the penthouse, right, Manu? Where's Manu? It's the penthouse. Yes. Has anybody been to an airport lounge? Okay, I didn't either. I went with someone else before and I was like, you know that in airports, there are places to wait, right? There's like the seats that we all wait in. And then there's like these pimped out lounges. Has anybody, like, I walked in, I was like, what is going on? I had never seen that before. Well, guess what? Think about this Subir Science 2.0 as the lounge for our students. It's on the top of the science building. It's a place for students to chillax. It's a place for you to chillax, to connect with students. And it has a cultural emphasis. So I really want to shout out to Lillian and her team in Title V for all the work. There are like 4 spaces on our campus. They're working with the AFT Immigration Committee, the work that we're doing with the Dreamers Resource Center. So just thanks so much again. So we have some beautiful places where students don't have to go home when they want to study. They don't have to always go in the library. The libraries are beautiful on campus, but they just want like a relaxed place. Many of our students don't have cars. You know, if you go to the other campuses, I remember going to one of our sister campuses recently, and I was telling someone, and I was like walking to a meeting at 9:30, and the parent, clearly a parent, it's like 9:30, opens up the BMW 7 Series, and the student walks out. I was like, that's not City College. That's not. It's not. So our students don't often have places to even sit in their cars and study. So these are places where they can study that are relaxed. It's like their lounges. So I really encourage you to check those out. Next week is Welcome Week. So that's when we all get a smile and make sure that we say hello to our students. Shout out to Outreach, the good work that's happening to VARS and Genevieve. Yes. So there are stations all over campus for them to check out, just to welcome students to the campus. Commencement, shout out again. I feel like I'm kind of doing some repetition here, but just be general with me. Just kind of work with me on this. Shout out to Marciano. Commencement is going to be at the San Diego Convention Center. While expensive, beautiful. It is in the ballroom. It's lovely. We're like negotiating, getting a little sunshine adjacency too. So we're really excited about that. And also let me just do a student services shout out to Dr. Luis Perez, who has joined. Thanks for representing in Academic Senate. We so appreciate that. Okay, so we have this thing called the Ultimate Student Experience, and my team calls it the movement, or they tell me it's a movement, and really is. Student Services Council has a task force who's been working on things all year long. We actually want to invite you into our space. We're beginning tours next week. Tours in which you can come. There's one on Tuesday. You'll see it in an email, which will invite you to come and take a tour of our spaces. So we're going to do that on a weekly basis because we know that student service and instruction and administrative services, we're all part of the same family. So we want you to come and see how beautiful these spaces are for our students, and also to let you know, just the great things that have been done from an aesthetics perspective and a functionality perspective. We have these things called City Talks, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more. These posters that you're looking at here are some of the work that's been done in the ultimate student experience that we're striving for. Each of the units in student services has spent a lot of time this year on reflection on how they can enhance the services that we provide for students. So we've looked at the beautiful data and the not so beautiful data in ways in which we can improve and enhance what we do. And really an incredible thanks to Breanne Kennedy, who has chaired that committee, who's done so much work to make sure that this is a reflective experience, the ultimate student experience for our students. Activities, some of the activities, I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to talk a little bit more. One is City Talk. So we've had these chats in our Dreamers Resource Center on just different topics, and I'm going to show you one and invite you to participate in one, actually. And we're going to do something that's kind of cool. So are you listening? Is everybody listening? Okay, so this is our president's idea. So what we're going to do, so if it bombs, it's your fault, Ricky. Okay. But in any case, what we're going to do is we're doing a challenge in our spaces. So the idea is based on some tenets that we've all agreed to from Student Services Council of what we want our spaces to be functional, to have a commitment to equity. We've looked at our spaces differently. So we're in the middle of a challenge. So I will tell you unofficially who's kind of killing it right now. DSPS is killing it. If you go in there, it's so zen. They have the water trickling. I mean, it's just lovely. And then who else is killing it right now? Mental health and student health. They're killing it. So we all like healthy competition, right? Because we're City College. So stay tuned, because we're going to invite you to be a part of the judging, because we don't want to make the decision. We want the whole campus to make the decision. Okay, so what you see here is some of the good work that's happening in the Marketing and Outreach Committee. And we're really excited to have Caesar here on board for Marketing and Outreach, and all the good work that he's already contributed and the work that's happened in outreach. And one of the talks that we've had, and you're going to see today because it's going to launch today, is the workshop that we did on how to fill your classes, how to increase enrollment. I watched it, made me want to sign up for a class. And literally it was 30 minutes of like powerful information. So Sean Bacon of the graphic arts department did this video. And I'm telling you, if you want to watch something really cool today, watch this video. It is amazing. So one of the things, yes, and see here today. So one of the things that you'll find on the video is that he talks about how you recruit people to come to City College. You know the story. You're like at Walmart and you're like, hey, what are you doing? Are you going to school? Have you done that before? He talks about like, hey, we're at Trader Joe's, and you're just like, hey, what are you doing with your life? And you let him know, right? So on the way in, and I know many of you have grabbed them, there are these little business cards. Did you see them, the little pack of business cards? Yes, thank you. She's just going to show you. And so I think these are great because what I usually do when I'm at Trader Joe's and I'm trying to encourage someone to come to City College is I like write my name on a piece of paper or something like that. It looks kind of stalkerish, kind of the way I'm doing it, you know? So this allows you actually to like hand them something from the college because as our president mentioned previously, enrollment is a campus effort. It's not a one-off. It's not. Outreach is never going to bring in a zillion people by themselves. It's the conversations that you have. It's the conversations that you have in the classroom, and it's the work that we do collectively as a community. So be sure, watch the 30-minute video and hand out the little cards. Okay. So there are a lot of things that are happening, and I know in the interest of time, I'm not going to go all into them, but these are some of the statewide initiatives that are really, really pressing interests that impact our district. And one is the student equity and achievement, basic integration of all services, and what we have is an integration core, folks like Anna Rogers, folks like Claire, folks like Nisha Savage and I, and our newest Dean of Equity, and I hope he is here, Roberto Valadez. Roberto in the house? Yes. So happy. And you know what? He is killing it. He is killing it already. If you don't know Roberto, you better tell somebody because I'm telling you, he is amazing. So we're working together on that. A lot of work is being done with Promise. Promise was initially a 1 year. Now it's moved into 2-year support. So that's very exciting. And then just the work that's been done with AB 705, the idea that placement and assessment, the requirement that students will begin at transfer level English and math. So really there's a lot of work there. And then also this thing called the state-centered funding formula. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to someone who has done, I'm just going to tell you, could you imagine like you're doing your job one day and just someone's like, hey, can you just become now the vice president of an area? And she just stepped up. And really what I think it demonstrates is the power of, yes, the vice president, but the power of our supervisors here as a college. And so she just stepped up and has done a phenomenal job. And so join me without a beatbox, I think today. That's how we practice. Yes, we were rapping her name, Roxanne. Does anybody know about that? Yeah. Don't get me started because you know you'll get me started. Paul will be like, beatbox? You want to show me a little beatbox? You guys, he has multi-talent. I can't do it. I just want you to hear it. Okay, he's the public information officer.
City College.
Yes. Thank you. So join me in welcoming Roxanne Aubrey. Woo woo!
I was not prepared for that. So I was a little nervous, but now I'm extremely nervous from that. All right. Well, thank you, Denise, and thank you, everybody. Welcome back. 2019 spring. Woohoo! So Ricky kind of mentioned some things. I'm just going to give you some quick overviews of what we have in admin services going on. The request for space process. I've been around the campus explaining this process. We're actually going to get that out the first week of February. So you'll get an email from me with the actual form, the spaces that are available on campus, and the process. Those forms are due back to me, I want to say February 15th. I'm sorry, I should have clicked the slide. February 15th. And then we'll have the final decisions by March 1st. So you guys will know the status of the request that you put in by March 1st. It's not working. Oops. I'm having technical difficulties. Oh, did it work? All right. Child development design. So we're going to actually get this going right as soon as we get come back from, yes. Woo! So after spring break, that's when the groundbreaking will happen, and the lot behind the T building will be closed. So please pay attention to the signs and do not park in that area. You will be ticketed. The overflow parking is the Balboa Stadium, which is behind San Diego High School, as well as that parking structure there. So students and staff will be able to park there. So again, please just pay attention, because I know I get a lot of complaints about the tickets and everything, but there will be signs there and there will be overflow parking. Caesar, I can't do this. All right. Campus admin services updates. The program review process finished November 1st or sometime in November. So we are going to gear up for our RAC hearings that are going to happen in March, where the whole process will start in order for us to do our tentative budget coming for 1920. Oh, did I skip that? Sorry. So March 8th and 15th will be our hearings. The March 22nd, 29th will be deliberation of the RAC committee, and you'll know your budgets tentatively by July 1st. I know. PeopleSoft. Okay, I know everyone wants to divorce PeopleSoft. I'm just gonna put it out there. But look at my team and I as the counselors. We're trying to give you the tools to help reintroduce you to PeopleSoft, to help you give a nice, warming relationship to PeopleSoft. We want you to enjoy PeopleSoft. I know it's challenging. I get it. Trust me, I know. It's not my favorite thing either. But we want to help you, and we want to help make this transition to this new system successful. So please allow us to do so. We're only here to help. We're trying to work with Paula, as Ricky mentioned, to come up with a better plan with our open labs, how we can be more strategic and proactive in getting the things done prior to the deadlines. And we want to help you and make this a better relationship between PeopleSoft and you. So please just allow us to do that. Give us some time. It's a work in progress, and I did not create it. I just want to put it out there. This is not my thing. So the purchasing deadline, I'm sorry, I'm messing up. As we all know, you guys should have your budgets halfway spent by now. But if you don't, the purchasing deadline, it will be in April. We will have an open lab schedule where you can come bring your orders or any type of supplies. We can sit down with you, get that done. Please make sure you spend your budget. If you don't have tools to access it, please let us know. We're here to help you. Again, that PeopleSoft Open Lab schedule will come out next week, and the tentative April deadline to wrap up the GFU General Fund and Restricted Purchasing will be April. And we have moved as well. So business services is still located in the R building, but our mailroom Reprographics has a beautiful area down in the T building, T131, and receiving, where Francisco and his team are down in T107. 170, sorry. What is wrong here? With that said, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing our Guided Pathways coordinator, Masa Omai.
Man, it's bright here. First, I didn't put the doctor thing there. I didn't want it, but oh well. First, I want to start this by saying that I was very, very, very skeptical about guided pathways before I started. But instead of going with my gut feeling or assumptions that, I made up in my head because of the circumstances, right, under which it was presented to us, and because of the research and the funding that was behind it. I was really skeptical, but I did my own research, and more I studied, the more I found out it wasn't what it was I thought it was. So I hope that you would hear what I need to present, and I hope that you will hear from our students with the open mind, kind of put away your assumptions and feelings about this, because some of the things I might say might be rather inflammatory or politically, I don't know what's the right word. It could be a, don't hate me for what I'm about to present. That's all I have to say. So as you know, the community college system in California started with this one thing in mind: to make the higher education in California accessible to everybody. We take 100% of those who apply to our campus. We will do everything we can to offer quality education to everybody who wants to be here, right? Some have made an argument because of this, we may have created a situation now dubbed as the cafeteria model of higher education. This is the first of the inflammatory things. But how many of you actually have gone through the catalogs that our students are supposed to go through? What do you think about it? It's kind of confusing and big, and sometimes there are questions that I think I know the answers to, but more I look at it, the more confusing it gets. And this is with somebody who have gone through, I personally have gone through City College. I have looked at that catalog for last, 20 years ago I looked at it. Now I'm looking at it again. It's rather confusing. I worked in admissions and records office at Cal State. I was a paraprofessional dealing with this catalog. I'm still confused about this. So now going back to what Ricky was saying, what do you think, students are thinking when they look at this? We have some idea about it, but we don't know exactly. So that's why we want to hear from our student today, right? So how do you address this problem? The problem of trying to achieve accessibility on one hand, also student success on the other. So the Guided Pathways framework is supposed to help us with this if, this is the highlighted part, if the college here was to implement the necessary systemic changes to shift the college's organizations as well as its culture. All right, this is the part that we kind of get scared and start thinking, does this mean I'm going to have to teach at different times? Does this mean I'm going to have to teach something I don't want to teach? Doesn't have to be, right? So, whoops. Uh-oh. I broke it. Hold on a sec. I can't fix it. Come on. That's all right. Adjust as we go. So, what the heck is this Guided Pathways anyway? There are 4 pillars. I borrowed this from Dr. Claire Johnson. She has clarified this concept using rather clearer language in our conversation about this. So there are 4 things we are supposed to do. It kind of the subject switches between us and the students. The first one is to clear the pathways. This is the institution's obligations, right? This is our tasks. What does that mean? Enrollment processes, application processes, onboarding processes, right? We have to think about how easy is it for our students to start. And once students decided to enter this path, we also have to provide with plenty of support to make sure those who are not speaking the language that we speak, because we work here, we have to be able to support them so that they will not just apply and don't start and matriculate. We want them to apply, enroll and matriculate, and complete successfully, right? So we have to do that. And the third pillar here is to make sure students are being supported and not, just about student services. Instructional faculty, we have to work with student services to make sure that we are, as a team, right, guiding students to whatever his or her goal is. And make sure when we deliver our curriculum, we are doing with the intention of, we want students to learn these things out of my classes, on my program, my, certificate programs. We have to rethink about, are we doing what we say we are doing? And are we actually seeing the effect, right? So that's what this guided pathways thing is. It's not that scary. But here's what I wanted to talk about. I know this is the uncomfortable one. 2 different data sources. The top one comes from the state. The bottom one comes, top one is the national data and the bottom one is the state data. I'm gonna go quickly because we wanna hear from our student. But I just had to say one very important thing. Here, our retention is at average. That's not too bad, right? Students who come back after first semester. But here, do you see? Within 150% of expected time to completion, meaning that if it's a 2-year program, within 3 years, what's the proportion of students actually finishing? Where are we at? And average is 42 is the average. We are 15%. And this is the data we feed. So there's no question about quality of data. And one way to look at this is to say, hey, look at the community we serve, look at the students that we serve. Well, I really thought about those comments I heard from many. Isn't that the ultimate deficit model thinking? So we have to stop with that. That's not an excuse for us. That's the one thing I really had to say today. It's not. So business as usual is not working. Even when we are looking at within 6-year framework, which is the California state data at the bottom here, right? For college prepared student, meaning that the students who are entering English and math, college transfer level English and math, their success rate is 62%. Overall is 45.5. Are we happy with this? No. So we can't. What do you call you repeat things that you do and you expect different outcome? Are we okay with that? I don't think so, right? So we are not. So then this is an opportunity for us to really ask ourselves, right? Are we doing enough? What is working for us? At the same time, what isn't working for us, right? I have looked at quantitative data because I'm such a quantoid. I love math, I love numbers, but I also did my due diligence as somebody who likes to do research to look into qualitative findings based on student voice data. We haven't done this here on this campus, so I looked around to see what's out there. The Career Ladder Project has done student voice focus group research at 2 different campuses and produced this report. And this is a finding from this report, and I wanted to share with you. First, many students have difficulty selecting what she wants to study or he wants to study. So what they want is that to have some kind of exploration class where tools are given to these students so that he may be able to find something he wants to do or find out what they don't want to do. If you know what you don't want to do, that might lead to finding out what you want to do, right? Isn't it true? I wasn't gonna be a medical doctor because I can't stand, no offense to biology faculty, I can't do biology, can't do flowers. I can do chemistry, no flowers in biology. All right. Another thing is students wanted to have some clear course sequence. Are we doing this enough? We number it sometime, right? Poli-sci classes, for example, 101 intro, 102 American, 103 comparative. For some reason, it's not 104, it's 140 international relations. We kind of intended, but does that make sense to our students? We don't know. We have to ask, right? I'm going to go really quick. I had all these slides, but and another thing they found out was the better awareness of support services and counselors with academic specialties. Well, guess what? In this conversation, Dr. Savage was shared the data with me about student orientation data. Our finding matches this finding. Students who are aware of services use these services. But that's still quantitative data. I wanted to hear from students in a qualitative manner too. And also sense of community. We know our cohort-based program has a great, successful outcomes. Why can't we do that for all of our students, right? So these are the findings from 2 campus student voice research, but we still want to validate to see some of these findings are true for our students. We don't want to make any assumptions, especially when we are doing, institutional shift of this magnitude. So let's hear from our student. Please welcome them with a warm round of applause. In addition to being here today for us, they have committed to come to a couple different rehearsals and planning meeting so that we can do this event successfully. So please welcome them. Why don't we have, let's start the student portion from here by having them introduce themselves, your name and your major.
So hi everybody, my name is Alicia Vasquez. I am studying gender and women's studies and sociology, planning to transfer to Cal in this coming fall. Hi, my name is Ashley Bodie. I'm a theater arts major. I'm hoping to transfer, I'm applying to schools in the fall, hoping to go to UCSD. I want to be a drama therapist when I grow up.
Good morning. My name is Damon Bird. I'm in the air department and my major is air, and I'm hoping for my associate's degree.
Hi, I'm Margaret McHale, and I am a sociology major, and I'm looking to apply to Berkeley in the fall.
So we have a microphone here on my side, my left, so you're right here. I will take your question periodically. So if you have a question for our student panelists here, please stand there and get ready. And if I don't see you, please wave at me or say something. I'll see you, but it's gonna be periodically. I have that power today, I guess. We have 3 groups of questions loosely related to 4 of the pillars. First, I wanted to ask the student panelists about their onboarding experience. So the first set of questions are, first one is, why did you pick City College? And related question is, kind of give us your experience of coming to campus, starting an application process, and all the required 6 steps, which is actually more than 6 steps. Right? Both positive and negative experiences, if you could share with us so that our colleagues can hear.
I'll start off. The reason I picked City College was location, and it would be easier for me to get here. My wife and I, she works, and she takes the car, so I just had better access to City College using the trolley. And as far as my application enrollment process, it was very frustrating for me. And then my cousin, who is here today, she helped me, and she is also a student here. She helped me with the application process of, getting my financial aid and the things that I qualified for. And it was just frustrating to me because, at my age, I'm not trying to deal with all that stuff. I want to go to work. I don't want to go to school, And, but I had a big support group, and that's basically why I was able to complete the fall semester, got my certificate in air conditioning and heating, and I got my EPA certificate. And so it's all turned out very positive for me in that aspect.
I'm sorry, the question was really long, so I don't remember a lot of it. But
Okay, so the question was, why did you pick City College? And could you share your experience about, from being here for the first day, applying, and then enrolling and starting the first day? Any positive experience that helped you, or some negative experience, if any, that kind of frustrated you, if you had any at all?
I live in IB, so the location, it makes sense for me. Also, when I moved here, I was without a car, so the trolley, again, the access from the trolley really made a lot of sense. I also met one of the ambassadors from Berkeley. I don't know if you're aware at all, but Berkeley has a program where they work with college students who are impacted by the criminal justice system, whether directly or indirectly through family. And I actually am one of those people. And the ambassador, there's 2 on campus. I'm currently one of them this year. I went up to Berkeley this summer and spent some time up there and met them, the people who run the program there, and they've been really instrumental in helping me to try to figure out what credits I need to transfer, working on my PIQs that I need to transfer, and just a tremendous amount of support. I did meet Aaron Harvey as well and had some time to speak with him. I think in those experiences, it was really the first time in my life that I was able to meet with people who came from a very similar background to mine, who were able to transcend into a world that was really unknown, which is a university on that level, where they're able to go and have access to the education and the possibilities that are involved in that environment. I found without that support, I think from Berkeley, I wouldn't have been able to achieve much here, would have probably gotten frustrated and left. I found the process very overwhelming. I have some credits from Connecticut that I was trying to transfer into California system. It was overwhelming. I felt lost a lot, confused and discouraged. So sorry that that's not all that positive, but that's really just what's been my experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Not every student may be answering all the questions. Only they feel like they want to share, and it's important for them to share. They will be answering the questions. Just to let you know, I'm not skipping the ladies over there. In terms of City College, now you're here. What do you wish you knew about City College before attending? Now you're here.
I think for me, definitely about. I know we have a program with UCSD where if you tell them your first year, you have some type of pact with them, and I didn't know about that program, so by my second year, it was already too late for me to enroll or confirm that I wanted to participate in that program. I think also just honestly just about like my ed plan, just I always felt like it was always such a hassle to make an appointment, and every time I called it was like, oh, we serve this many students, so you're just gonna have to show up one day. And even doing that, sometimes it just like wouldn't work out, or I just had counselor that I didn't really like match with, I guess. So I was pretty much like my own counselor for the past 3 years that I've been here as a student. And I've managed to figure out every course that I needed to take, but just by using Assist and, thank you. So I think for me, honestly, just like navigating it by myself, and that's how I've managed to get through, and asking for help when I needed it. And even that was hard sometimes. And I think maybe some other things that I wish I had known was just like how many services that we offer, how much support that we have, because like I said, there were a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. And so, and it's ironic because my dad worked here, so I think he knew that I think he thought that I knew everything already, or I don't know, but I just kind of was just like, I'm here, so let's figure it out. But I think honestly, just I just wish I had known more, and I wish that I had been kept in the loop more. So, yeah.
When I had a academic probation. I had gone to a lot of community colleges when I first got out of high school to appease the people in my life. And I quickly began doing a lot of other extracurricular activities and wound up in rehab. And so I took a 6-year break, and I was a year sober when I decided to come back to school, and I did not know, thank you. And I had a lot of excuses as to why I wouldn't be able to go to school, because I was currently living in a recovery home for alcoholic women. And so I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have Wi-Fi. I knew I had some learning differences. I'm a first-generation college student, so I had a long list of why it wasn't going to work for me. And once I got on campus, I was able to find that I could appeal for financial aid, tell them my story. They gave me a second shot. I wouldn't be able to go without financial aid. I wouldn't be able to afford to go to school. And so that was appealed. And then I was basically, once I got into DSPS, like the road was just paved for me. I was met with a lot of support. And then EOPS too. And then lastly, I was greeted by like the most loving, compassionate teachers my first semester back. And it almost makes me want to cry. So I'm going to leave with that.
Now, sorry.
What I found out once I got here that I didn't know when I was enrolling was, how everybody, the faculty, counselors, teachers, how they were just they came at you enthusiastic that you wanted to learn. And they were open for your questions. And at first I was a little afraid asking questions, and I'm not a student just out of high school. I I should know some things, you know. And that was my thinking, you know. I'm asking them questions that, where I was thinking, I'm asking them questions that I should already know. And it wasn't like that. You know, they didn't treat me like I'm an older student. They treated me like I'm a student, you know. And I wanted to know something. And they just helped me navigate through everything. And my instructor, not only did he teach, you know, he prepared you for the transition from student to the workforce. And he spent a lot of time on that. I understood why he did it, but for the younger people that were in my class, a lot of them were a little skeptical. You know, they were wondering, you know, some people were just in there just to pass time. You know, they weren't looking for a career doing it. You know, that's just things I heard from certain students that were in my class. But I was just surprised at first at how people approached me and were so willing to help me. And that's an experience that I will always take with me from here, you know, as I pursue the goals that I am trying to pursue here at City College.
Let's hear
I
from our
actually,
audience. June?
Can I add something to that
Sure,
last
go
question? I think something that, I mean, I feel it might be obvious to some, but I think something that's really important to note is that I feel like the best teachers are always the ones that teach with love. And as much as people want to shudder when I say that, or people who are embracing that, I think the power of radically loving is something very important that happens in classrooms where magic happens. And I really believe that words are magic, right? So I just want to take a moment to say that, like, we're not asking teachers to be therapists. We're not asking teachers to be our best friends, but when you teach with compassion and when you're understanding to your students and you're there for your students, no matter how small it is, that makes the world of a difference. I felt emotional just listening to him talk about his experience, only because, like, he just said, like, he's going to carry that experience of those wonderful relationships that he developed with his professors into his future. And so I just think that that's something really important for everybody to know, because I've had an experience here where I had a math teacher tell me, I was taking Math 96, which is one of the hardest math classes you could take, right? And I had the teacher tell me, how many of you want to go to a real college one day? And that was a horrible experience. It was a horrible, horrible experience. And I remember, like, I was terrified because my teacher made me feel like, he was just like, oh, you know, you should all know this math already. And I'm like, fool, that's why I'm in class. Like, that's exactly why I'm here. And so I just want to take a moment to say, like, we need more teachers who are not like that, and teachers who are really focusing on, like, just the student experience. And that's what this whole event is about, right? The ultimate student experience. And it might sound cheesy, but, you know, like, we want to learn just as much as you want to teach. So give us that at least.
Before going to the question from the audience, I would like to apologize on behalf of the faculty for your experience. That's no cool. Jim?
Hi, as a returning student who was older at the time I came back to school, I felt challenges in being much older than my peers. And I'm wondering, you've touched on it a little, what we as a campus can do to better refresh and restore and support returning students and older students on campus, because our population is changing. And how can we better encourage you and help you to succeed?
You know, to me, that would be a hard question for the simple reason. When you're doing something that you want to do and you feel passionate about, you shouldn't feel bad at any time at doing it. No, I don't care how old you are. You know, and what I was saying about me was, that was just a feeling I had. You know, I'm not saying it was right or it was wrong. Trust me, at my age, I had a wonderful experience here at City College. I just started in the fall. I'm planning continue classes in the spring. And it was just strange to me. You know, my wife and I, we had 3 kids. We raised our kids, and now I'm going to school with students who are younger than my children. And I'm not saying I didn't know how to deal with that. You know, it was just being in the environment, you know. And it's like I said before, my wife and I, this whole thing about me going to school was her idea anyway, because so, we had a big fight about it, and, but you see, I wound up in school, so you know who won. But to answer your question, I don't really think there's anything that the school can do. You just have to be comfortable, basically, as they say, in your own skin, no matter what you're doing. And once I got to know the campus and got comfortable in my classes and stuff, I was just one of the students. It didn't matter. I'm surrounded by students that are younger than my children, but I'm there learning just like they are. And that's what I took with me, from that experience.
I just wanted to say, as an older student too, that I think there's an assumption when you meet someone and they're at a certain age that they have sort of a toolbox full of resources. But school, for me, I dropped out of school in 10th grade. And so I didn't really follow, as I think most of us, and a lot of students at City College, the natural path, the educational path, but that you assume that because I'm of a certain age that I would have maybe knowledge of certain things. But this environment is so new that in the same way that maybe an 18-year-old or a 22-year-old would come into it as very much a blank slate, an older student really has maybe some other life skills, but really has no frame of reference for this environment. So I think there can be an assumption when a teacher sees an older student that maybe, oh, they know already, or they don't need, and then you have the ego that comes with being a little older too, of where you don't want to feel stupid or you feel like you should know. But it really is, it is pretty much a level playing field for the most part, regardless of age, when you come into this environment.
Can I add something to that too? So as somebody who works with students all the time, so I work in outreach, for those of you who don't know, and I work with students of different populations constantly. And I think for staff who maybe don't work directly with students like all the time, I think I have some good bit to offer. So I can recall an experience immediately of, I had an older gentleman who had just gotten out, and he came to our office and he didn't know what the internet was. And I remember the way that I responded to that situation, I was just like, oh, well, I just explained it to him. And it's very much about not making the student feel like they're stupid or making them feel like they're like exactly what Margaret's saying, like they're supposed to know everything already. And it's very much just about approaching the student where they're at and connecting with them in a way and just explaining it to them. And also not speaking in our academic language that we're constantly using. You want to meet them where they're at. Because at the end of the day, enrolling for school is difficult. Filing your financial aid application is difficult enough already that you don't want to have to, be sitting there trying to like, oh, I don't even understand what this person just said to me. So really just about meeting the student where they're at and trying to come from a place of understanding always, because you just want to be there for the student at the end of the day and you just want to support them. You want them to be successful. So you just, like I said, just be there for them and be understanding and approach them where they're at.
when we talk about guided pathways, it often leads to this conversation, what is the purpose of education? There are two, it's on spectrum, I think, but some have different idea than the other. And often comes down to question about students' ability to explore. So in that, we wanted to hear from you about how you decided on your academic major or program, so that we can kind of see the process that you have gone through in deciding. I knew what I wanted to study when I was 10, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't become what I wanted to become, but the field of study was the same. Right? But that is unusual, I think. So here's a question regarding kind of like clarifying the path related kind of question. So tell us about your experience selecting a major, and did you know what you wanted to study when you first entered City College or community college education in general? And also, if somebody assisted you in selecting your academic major, could you share who that might have been, group of people or just individual? Okay.
When I did decide to come to school, as far as selecting what I wanted to study and what I wanted my major to be, you know, I just had a big support staff at home, and I confided in them and talked to them. And the one person who really helped me decide on a major was my cousin's husband. He knows heating and air conditioning, and he told me that I would probably enjoy it. And doing a little research on it, you know, I saw that it was, you know, it was a good skill to have, and the money was very lucrative in that field, and that's why I chose that field, you know, and it just something different also.
So I'm really smiley just because I really love talking about my major, and I just love what I study so much. So I actually started as an English major, and then I realized that was totally not for me, and I was like, there's no way I want to be an English major. And then I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist. And so I studied at a lab at UCSD for the summer, and I realized I hated working in labs. There's no windows in the lab. I'm stuck for 8 hours all day dissecting guts, and it just was not fun at all. It was a great experience, but I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And then I took my first gender studies course, and I took a La Chicana course, and the things that I learned in that course just changed my life. I had never connected to something so much before. And like, it just, I want to cry because I just love what I study, and I love learning in that way so much. And then I realized, you know, like, I was so afraid to pick that major, to pick gender and women's studies specifically, because so many people, I had a lady at the sandwich shop to ask me at Smarts Cafe one time. I'm not gonna say who it was. I was at Smarts Cafe one time, and she was like, oh, so what do you study? And I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna be a gender and women's studies major. She's like, what are you gonna do with that degree? And I'm just like, maybe not work at a sandwich shop, but you know what I'm saying? But you know what? I love everybody who works though, so that's very classist of me to say, and I'm not gonna say that. But anyways, so I decided I want to be a gender and women's studies major, and then I took sociology. And I actually took the hardest social classes you could take before I took Social 101. So I took theory and research methods, and then I took Social 101. Or no, I took them all at the same time. And and I realized that like just learning just like how to rip apart the world just like made me so happy. And just understanding why everything works the way it works just made me so happy. And I really think that it just came from a place of love. It came from a place of like, what do I love to do? What do what would not be work for me? What, you know, what is something that I know if I'm doing this every day, like I'm going to be happy with that. And even if it doesn't pay me a lot, like I'm all right with that. And I've honestly, and there's probably a lot of people like, you sure, girl? But, you know, honestly, like I'm okay with doing what I love, even if it means that I'm not going to be a millionaire. I don't want to be a millionaire. I just don't want to have student debt. Like, you know? And so I think really for me, it just came from a place of love. And it just was really just, it was hard for me because, you know, there's so many options, right? And when I work with students a lot of them are undecided when we ask them what they want to major in. And I think it just because like you don't get offered Chicano studies at your high school. You only get offered English, science, math. And those study, like not everybody wants to study that. And so it just, you know, English was not like the one I naturally gravitated towards more because I love to write and I love to read. And so, you know, that was like, oh, I guess that's what I am. But, you know, ethnic studies are important. And those courses show people a lot about who they are and about what they love to learn about. So, power to ethnic studies.
I just wanted to take a second to say, because I think it's really important, you know, the demographic that goes to a community college, you know, I'm that demographic. I'm first generation. I grew up in the system. I've been, you know, had family who has been incarcerated in prison. It takes a lot of courage, I think, to come to school, a tremendous amount of inner drive. That's not in an environment where really education is valued or supported. It wasn't for me, never was. It was always get a trade. It was always find a job. It was always pay your way. You know, it's such a luxury education. And I think, you know, that's the thing. It was not a priority, and it still really isn't. It's seen as an indulgence in my environment. And everybody that steps through the doors that comes here, it's a lot of courage. It really is. I think you're fighting a lot of real life stuff, you know, financial issues, family issues, addiction issues. And I think we have to remind ourselves of that with every person that we encounter here. I mean, choosing my major, it does feel self-indulgent at times. I'm a sociology major, but with that being said, I've learned a lot, and hopefully will impact other people with my choices and what I've learned. So, I mean, that's the end game for me.
I was the kid like in elementary school that you make them take their desk outside because they won't stop talking and can't sit still and can't pay attention. And so I always had really low self-esteem around school, can't read out loud very well, like pretty hard time with traditional learning environment. And so choosing my major was pretty easy because it was like the only reason I went to high school, like kept going, was because my theater teacher was like, you need to get a C if you want to be in the play in all my other classes. And so I went to Mesa, and I actually did pretty well in theater company there. So I knew I liked it. And coming back to school, I just dabbled in a couple theater classes. And then like two of those teachers really were like, take some other classes. And then I took a history class and an English class, and I took my assessment. And I just realized that I'd like to maybe be an educator or a therapist using theater, and I would have to like do the math and stuff. So I feel supported. I do feel like it's unfortunate that I have to take 3 math classes to get to transfer level math, but we have excellent tutors here and excellent resources. So I feel confident, and my self-esteem has definitely increased. Like I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to go to Cal State. And now I'm thinking about trying to apply to UC schools. So it feels really good.
Let's take another question from the audience.
Hola. Hi.
Hi.
First, thank you for being here and inspiring us and teaching us. It really goes to show that you're the ones that teach us, faculty, many, many times. And I will never stop growing and learning from you so I can better serve you. Now, doing the research on guided pathways, something that really struck with me in terms of the cafeteria style, meaning you have to just pick and choose. I know most of you are getting ready for transfer. Have you noticed that you had to take or that you took extra classes that you actually didn't need to transfer, which means you wasted more money and time and frustration to get to where you wanted to get? And I think that's part of the guided pathways, which is actually trying to make sure that you have more of a flowy path so you don't have to spend a lot of time and money on courses that you actually didn't need it. So have you noticed that you took others? Yeah.
Can we kind of rephrase the question a tiny bit if it's
No,
okay?
so I think what you're asking is that if during our academic journey we found ourselves taking classes that weren't important to us because of lack of guidance, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how do we go about that or whatever?
Can I add a tiny bit? Because this tiny bit of context or additional things to this. Is it okay?
Sure.
Because this is one of those inflammatory things. Did you mean to take those courses knowing that it would be enriching for your educational experience, but didn't need, or inadvertently took it because it looked fun, but you didn't really need it in terms of requirements?
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you
Okay,
mean.
could you try to answer some of that too?
Of course, of course. So personally, like I said, I've been my own counselor this past 3 years, and I've been here for 3 years because I was my own counselor. So, I did take courses that I not necessarily didn't need to take, but there definitely could have been some more well planned out courses. So Math 96, I tried taking that course twice. I haven't taken it a third time yet. I'm getting ready to transfer. So what I'm doing is I'm actually taking a math refresher course right now and planning on testing out so that I can take the transfer level math that I need, because this is the only class that's holding me back from transferring right now. And so it's situations like that. Like, I wish I would have had a good math teacher my first year. Like, I wish somebody would have told me, take Math 96 first because it's going to be the hardest course to take. I took other classes because nobody told me that. Nobody told me that this course was just another roadblock for me transferring. And yeah, like, it sucked. Like, I wish that there wasn't that barrier there, especially hearing that you have to take like 2-3 math classes to get to college. Like, that's insanity. It's already hard enough. And I know that, these staff right here can't necessarily go and fix all that, right? But I mean, it's worth being heard. And I feel that to avoid situations like that, where we're taking courses that we don't need, we really need those counselors who are going to be there for us. And we need more counselors because, like, pobrecitos, like, you guys don't have nobody. Like, I go to the office sometimes. I went to the office maybe like last semester, and they're like, oh, we only have one counselor on staff today. And I'm just like, are you serious? I'm like, I don't even want to go, because I'm like, y'all probably need to take a break or something, because I'll be stressed out. So, like, that's another thing is, like, we need more counselors. We need more resources for students because we don't have any.
Just to really reiterate what Alicia was saying, for me again, and in speaking to people prior to coming here about what their experiences were over and over and over again, it's math. It's math. And I think, like I said, I dropped out in 10th grade. I eventually got my diploma. I wound up having to go back. But, I think if you just show up, they're going to hand you that, because they're just, they see you're making an effort and they feel like it's necessary. But the gaps in my education were huge. You're dealing, again, with a lot of people who have those educational gaps, and English and math, not having the core, the fundamentals, going in and trying to tackle it, and having this expectation that you should somehow, if you got into college or of a certain age, have these skills and be able to access them. You know what I mean? That even if I learned them in ninth grade, I haven't used them. And so those are the two areas where if there could be more funding and support around math and English, I think it would make a huge difference for a lot of people being frustrated, dropping out, having to retake classes. Yeah, would be huge.
I helped build the puppet, and I don't know, like, so that's supposed to, I think, see, I don't even know. And I go to a lot of counselors because I go to EOPS and DSPS. And so, like, I knew that would be a fun thing to do because it works with my major. And so I think that works towards my AA in theater arts from City College, but it's not transferable. So there's some things where I kind of feel like there's a little bit of double work happening because, of course, I'd like to have an AA when I leave here. But then I could have maybe skipped building the puppet to like take something else to get the transfer moving faster. So it's a lot, I guess.
Okay, cool. Another question from the audience?
Well, mine is more of a comment rather than a question.
All right, go for it.
Thank you all for sharing your stories. It makes us happy to hear. But in particular, Ashley, I remember you in my English 47A class some semesters ago, an unsure student questioning, oh, I haven't been here in a while, and you were amazing. And so I just want to say it makes my heart happy to see you on stage here today. I'm so proud of you.
Awesome. Just to balance out and to inform everybody, both English and math faculty has been working their butts off to address these issues, to redesign curriculum, to make sure that these kind of issues are, addressed as quickly as possible. Also, with the change in the state legislation and the policy, we are hoping that we are moving towards right direction. And both English and math faculty have started doing this before these guided pathways things got dropped on us. So awesome. Thank you. Yep. Oh, no problem.
Directing as being a DSPS student. Thank you for the mic. And that means I don't have to strain. I'm having difficulty aboard campus with DSPS and the accommodations, even coming into the theater and the different things that I have to do. As a DSPS student, it's not being addressed and certain things like that. But I'm glad that you had a certain experience with that. What would you do, or what advice would you give for a DSPS student who has not received accommodations from an instructor where they had to drop their classes for the fall and had to fight to get those accommodations met, and they were never met, and their classes were dropped? Okay, and as an older student, because I am as well, how do you continue to stay encouraged and to get your educational goals met? So both of those, I can correlate with both of you too about that. So thank you. And I'm on campus, and I was trying to register. The elevators were broken, so I had to take stairs. When I reached out to certain staff members about my goals and stuff being needed for the fall, where an instructor didn't give me the accommodations, the classes were dropped, and I have books and lost money for that semester. So how do you encourage, what would you say to encourage for me to keep going as a DSPS student? And what ideas will we get to make this campus more friendly? Okay, when we have the orientation for student services, it's over there, the street by the McDonald's, but then how do you get down to another place? So that, and then also, I need encouraging words from you all to keep me going for this next semester, because I'm really ready to quit. I need some advice.
If you want to keep the mic, because I might need to ask. Just to be clear, so you had the classes were dropped because of low enrollment, or because you had to drop them because your accommodations weren't being met?
The classes were, I dropped the class because
dropped.
my accommodations were not met. You know, as a DSP student, we have to give our accommodations letter to our teachers right before the 2-week deadline when we first enroll. The teacher failed to meet my accommodations no matter what. I had to petition, I had to fight. I never got the accommodations. And it took almost the end of the semester. And if I did not drop the class, I would have got an F.
Wow.
So that's what took place with that. But then the mobility issue of moving around the campus and even coming into this auditorium, it's just very discouraging to be able to get from one class to the other.
I'm sorry that was your experience. That's not right. And I just wanted to say, I wonder if my friend had back surgery. He goes to a community college somewhere else, and he was able to, they had people that would drive people who needed the assistance from place to place. I don't know if that's offered on our campus, but that would seem like something that would be, I would hope that would be able to provide a solution, and it doesn't seem unreasonable at all. So, and I really don't know what else to say apart from that sounds really hard, and I'm sorry that was your experience, but I believe in you. I think we were on the panel together, weren't we? For
We
GSPS?
were. Yes, we were.
Good
We were.
to
That's
see
why
you
I looked at you. I
again.
said, congratulations. Good to see you. And you look awesome.
Thank you. And your questions when we did that panel was really useful. I will say that the faculty members that came to our panel to try to understand how to help accommodate DSPS students, that felt really good for me to be able to talk there. And a lot of the questions that you asked at that time really empowered me. So I want you to know that like you're a powerful person. So thank you.
So are you.
Paul, I'm gonna just take a minute and follow up on that. The question is very serious, and it's obviously something that I guess I'm just disturbed to hear at this point that there isn't greater awareness of our complaint process. So her question was specifically about accommodations, and on campus we have what's referred to as a 504 officer, and that's specifically the individual here who should hear those complaints. Again, if you've been awarded, have a letter of accommodations from DSPS and your instructors are not honoring that letter, it's the 504 officer who will attend to that, investigate that. In a broader sense, we do have quite an array of services to address complaints. I'm speaking because I'm the site compliance officer here on campus, and I specifically address, investigate complaints, excuse me, of harassment and discrimination that are related to protected class issues. And then, of course, there are other complaints that are handled by our student affairs offices. So I know I often hear complaints that really are not in my wheelhouse, but then I'll refer them out, again, either to the 504 officer or student affairs. Same thing from student affairs, I get referrals on complaints that I should be investigating. And I think in this case, I'm just really surprised that your DSPS counselors weren't able to inform you, again, of the 504 officer.
Thanks, Edwin. Let's take a question from Doc. Are you ready? Oh, okay.
I'm asking, can we talk after the meeting with them? Because my DSPS counselors did everything. It even went up to the president of the school.
May I say something very quickly too? I don't know you or your story, but like I said before, I think it takes a tremendous amount of courage to come to school to make that commitment. And so, ma'am, I just wanted to say, I think sometimes situations present themselves to the person who can handle them. So if you've encountered this, somebody else probably has as well, and their decision was then just to quit. So it was never addressed. So what I would say to you is perhaps the situation has met you because you're the person who's going to solve it. So, you know what I mean? No. So I would really say, you know, you should feel blessed because this was presented to you so that this won't happen to someone else. So if you make the decision to quit, you know what I mean?
But also know that that's your emotional labor, and that if you don't want to go through that, don't.
No, I think she can. I feel your strength. I feel your strength.
The
Yes.
The important thing is we heard you.
Mhm.
We will take this seriously and encourage you to continue, your education so that you can reach whatever you want to reach. Yeah. All right. Let's hear from Doc.
Okay, so just to be sure, did anybody else want to provide an encouraging statement to the student that she asked for? Are y'all good?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but for the interest of the program and time, let's have a conversation outside the program, and let's hear from Doc, and let's use our time wisely to hear from our student, because I have one more question after Doc, kind of a roundup question and also a quick statement.
You've opened up the world for me about what this is all about and can be. To the students, what would you say? Okay, so some of you have said the great things that happened here, and some of you have pointed out problems, and some of you have said what the outstanding ideal should be, like teachers teach with love, that kind of stuff. So if you were able to summarize your views, what would you say City College needs to say to students in high school or the community or somewhere? Like Ricky's trying to get that branding moment. What is that phrase that we can prove, that we can live out? Or if we can't live it out, that we need to start working on living it out. That you would say to us and to our whole system here, say to get students to come to City College. I'd like to hear your statements on that. Thank you.
Doc, awesome. That was my last question, kind of. So I'm going to add to that. The question that I had related to his question was, if you're the one thing, if you would change about your experience here at City College as a new student, you were, imagine you were starting over. I know you don't want to, because you finished, so many classes and courses. But imagine yourself as a brand new student. And starting here, what one things would you change? And that could lead to, answering questions from Doc as well, I think. Please.
If I could change one thing, it would be that every teacher provides Bell Hooks' engaged pedagogy before they start their class. That piece of literature has transformed my experience in the classroom, not only with myself and how I learn, but with my professor always. I think I've had maybe 2 or 3 professors who have done that for me. And for those of you who are not familiar with that piece or who don't know who Bell Hooks is, look it up. I believe you can find it online pretty easily, and if you can't, I work in outreach and I have a copy that I can make a copy for you. So I think that would be my 2 cents, is read engaged pedagogy. And see how you can apply that to the classroom.
Any other thoughts, concluding remarks?
I think for me, it's again, I think it's just really sometimes reconnecting with why you're here and then understanding why the students are here. I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves of really what brought us into this space. And I think, for me, I've taken some online classes, and the ones that were really successful were the ones I felt the most connected to the professor about. For most people outside of the classroom, there's not a tremendous amount of support around them in prioritizing education and the pursuit of that. So I think sometimes making those connections with students and finding better ways, maybe through social media, through technology, to ensure that people are connected to the resources. There are a tremendous amount of resources here. I just don't think, and that's where there's a lot of time wasted and time spent with not being able to know where to access those resources, and you feel alone and then overwhelmed and lost, and then you just sort of fade away. So I would say just use more of what's available to us that's affordable, which is technology, emails sent, different reminders about things, encouragement, support, that sort of thing that helps you to stay connected to the students and for the students to feel connected to this experience.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. There was a weird transition there. College, it's for all of us or something, because I didn't think college was for me because I thought I wasn't smart enough to go to college, or like education, like that's for like learn whatever you want. Like these types of just showing that there's like so many ways to be at City College. Like, I mean, if you like to grow plants, you can do that. Like, I mean, there's so much. Maybe just encouraging students, like, for me, my beginning was the perfect beginning, and I wouldn't change it apart from the math classes, because I needed to just like be super chill and like go where it felt good for me, which was acting class and voice class. And then after that, I was able to like I warmed up and I realized that there was other things here for me besides theater. And then it grew from there. So that there's something for everyone here, whatever. I'm not the queen of slogan, but that.
I think something else to add too is that, I think something else to add too. So like I said, working with students constantly, I'm at the high school, I'm at the library, I'm wherever I'm supposed to be at, right? With students, potential students. And I think something that I always I'll be in a classroom full of high school students at Hoover or at Morris, and something that as soon as I say it out loud, students start listening. And it's when I tell them, like, you're getting an education for yourself. Your education is whatever you want it to be. It's not what your dad wants you to be. It's not what your mom wants you to be, your abuelita, like nobody. Like, it's for you, because when you go to the university, who's going to pay for your education? Most likely you. So I always tell them, like, whatever you decide to study, is take pride in it. And if you want to study gender and women's studies, do it. If you want to, study theater, do it. Like, because there's so much pressure to do all of those high income jobs in STEM because of the society that we live in and that values those types of jobs more. Students feel so pressured that they're not doing the right one, or they're not in the right degree, or, they're worried that their degree is going to be useless. But it's like, it is what you make of it. And so just letting students know that, like, this is for them. This is ultimately for them. And so just reminding them that, this experience is for them and for them to mold into whatever they want it to be. So
Awesome. Thank you.
I think.
So, let's see, the one thing that I would change, if I could, would be my attitude. Starting this process, it's like my wife told me, there's nothing wrong with expanding your mind, no matter how old you are. There's nothing wrong with doing different things. And when I think about it, I can't cheat myself like that. I've worked all my life, and as I said before, that's what I'm used to doing. I hated school. When I graduated high school, I didn't want to go on another school. But there's nothing wrong with, just expanding your horizons. Just keep filling your brain. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's one thing that I learned, and it's one thing that I have to say that I'm glad I didn't miss out on, because this was, like I said, a very positive experience for me. And I truly thank those around me who supported me in this effort. And I just have to say that changing my attitude would be the biggest thing that I would change, because I'd have to say I'm very proud of myself right now.
Awesome. Thank you. So before we conclude the program today, a couple things. One, I'm going to be really quick. One, please take what you heard, both positive and negative, and share with your colleagues in your program, department, divisions, and keep the conversation going. Reflect on what you heard and what you thought about and what you were thinking about. And please let us know, let me know, let Susan know, let the community members know. Let's have a lively conversation to, let's keep it going. Second, Guided Pathways Committee is planning to have series of events to keep this conversation going and to encourage you to engage in the conversation regarding Guided Pathways. So look out for our emails. Thanks so much for coming, and let's give a round of applause to our student panelists. Have a wonderful semester. Thank you.